Before we continue with the video, I want to talk to you guys about today's video sponsor, anythingfootball.net. You'll be able to find the link to anythingfootball.net in the description down below, and as you scroll through the website you will see how many great football boots they have from a load of different top brands. And honestly, some of these football boots are absolutely stunning. They're genuinely works of art. And I'll put some examples on screen here. You can see just how nice some of these boots are. They really are stunning. But if you want to check them out for yourself, then use the link in the description down below and head to anythingfootball.net. Now back to the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today I'm just going to get straight into it because we are talking about a really fascinating tactical battle between Erik ten Hag, Graham Potter, Manchester United and Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Because this was a game of several different phases of different teams being on top, managers reacting to each other, in particular Graham Potter done that brilliantly. So yeah, let's just get straight into it, talk about the tactics, talk about how Ten Hag got United playing really good football for a good 35 minutes. That first 35-minute patch where United were by far the better team. And United done this using their usual 4-2-3-1 shape. Although, as we know, quite often tends to be the case, when they were building possession, it was a bit more 4-1-4-1, because Christian Eriksen pushes slightly higher. And I thought, rather interestingly, Chelsea didn't really put them under much pressure. It wasn't a low block, it wasn't a mid block, they didn't completely sit back, but it wasn't a high press. Probably a high block is the best way to describe what Chelsea were doing. And it had them set up in pretty much kind of their default starting formation, this 3-4-3 shape, and the aim was to try and block passes into the Manchester United midfielders. However, I thought that the way that United manipulated positioning of the Chelsea forwards and the Chelsea pressing players was actually really impressive. So that's what I want to get into. So like I said, Aubameyang wasn't particularly pressing extremely high up the pitch. He was more interested in kind of cutting the passing lane to Casemiro. He wasn't exactly man for man marking him, but that was kind of the area that he was tracking. We then had Mason Mount, of course, on this side, pushing reasonably high up the pitch, and then Sterling dropping deeper on the left-hand side. Now, the reason that Chelsea done this was because that they know Lisandro Martinez is Manchester United's best ball-playing defender. So the aim was for Mount to press him from this side to force him to play to Varane, who is decent, but we know he isn't as good on the ball as what Lisandro Martinez was. So that was the aim for Chelsea. That is what they were trying to do. However, the problem was it then often left Jorginho with a bit of an issue, because he kind of had to cover Eriksen, but also Casemiro a bit. Combine this with the fact that Aubameyang, he's a good footballer, he's an experienced player, he isn't the greatest defensive forward. He isn't great at following his man, he isn't great at cutting the passing lanes, and what this allowed was for United to quite easily play through this Chelsea high block and quickly take two players out of the game and then play from there. And then what we can see is that Jorginho now has a decision to make. Does he stick on Christian Eriksen, allowing Casemiro to carry the ball forward, or does he step to Casemiro and let Eriksen get the ball? Now, of course, this didn't happen every time. United weren't easily just walking through that Chelsea front line, but there were certainly situations where Aubameyang simply didn't do his job good enough. He didn't do a good enough job of following Casemiro. It allowed United to move forward, and this is where United caused problems. And I thought in the first half, if anyone was going to score, it was Manchester United, because they just looked so dangerous. They didn't get any huge chances, but they got in some really good positions, and it was because of this ability to get the extra free man in midfield. We can see that Chelsea only had Jorginho and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in there, up against Eriksen, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. United had probably the better footballers in there, but also they just had the extra footballer as well. And it made life really easy for that first 35 minutes. United looked really impressive, and it allowed them to really push up the pitch. I am just going to quickly interrupt because we do have another sponsor for today's video, and that is jerseyfifa.com. The website you need to head to right away to get yourself the latest and greatest football shirts, all at an extremely affordable price. The link will be in the description below, so head there right away to get yourself a great shirt, again at a great price. Now back to the video. As a result of this, United really did take control of that first half. United were by far the better team, getting into lots of goal scoring positions, and again the movement of Marcus Rashford up front was really good. The issue, as I keep saying it, United just make bad decisions on the ball. Now, it wasn't as bad as what it has been in other games, but there are still situations where players are shooting rather than playing the extra pass. And combine that with the fact that, unfortunately, 1/3 of the attacking three in Jadon Sancho, he just didn't have his greatest game. To be fair, Antony wasn't spectacular either, but he did have some bright moments. Sancho was really poor. Probably his worst performance of the season, and in the past I've commented about him not being aggressive enough on the ball. It weren't even that. He was just
quite simple touches he wasn't completing, and there was times where Luke Shaw would make the overlapping run, Sancho would play it and overhit the pass out for a goal kick. Things like that. He just had a really sloppy performance, and as a result, it meant that United found it quite hard to break this Chelsea team down. We know how good they are defensively. They haven't conceded in however many hours. They're very good defensively. And I think that would have been frustrating for Erik ten Hag, because once again, he coached his team into a really good position. He got them to play the ball through the first two thirds really easily. He got them into decent areas in the final third. United just couldn't play the final pass, the final shot, wrong decisions, and also just a lack of quality finishing. Now, those that have watched the game would have seen the two Rashford chances and that Antony chance in the first half. I wouldn't necessarily say any of them are clear-cut chances, and yes, he has to score that. But I think when you play against Chelsea, you don't get chances very often. They are good defensively, so they are the sort of chances you have to take, especially the Antony one. Granted, this is right foot. We know he isn't very good on his right foot. I think he has to do better. And the Rashford ones, they weren't clear-cut chances, but you just feel you need to take one of those chances against Chelsea, because clear-cut chances against Chelsea under Graham Potter are quite hard to come by. Regardless of that, United still had a very good first 35 minutes, were taking control, and also some of that was because of what they'd done defensively. So when Chelsea were trying to play out from the back, they, like Spurs in midweek, tried to change their shape a little bit, with Chalobah dropping a little bit deeper, Cucurella dropping a bit deeper, and Thiago Silva kind of stepping into midfield like this. Once again, Rashford would play just to one side. This time it was Antony wide, and Sancho kind of doing that job of marking two players. Kind of marking Azpilicueta, but also kind of marking Chalobah. And at times this worked really well for United, and at times it didn't work so well. And it was when Mason Mount was making certain movements that the problems occurred. And this is where Chelsea were able to kind of get a grip in the game in the first half. They didn't do it very often, but when they did, it was their chance to get forward. So, let's talk about that issue. The issue is here, like we saw the other day, if Sancho is pressing too soon, it makes the lifted pass over to Azpilicueta far too easy. Now, you might say, Luke Shaw is right here. Why can't Luke Shaw press all the way up? Because United were kind of man-for-man in the midfield once again. Why couldn't Shaw push all the way up like he did against Spurs? Well, sometimes he could, and United could win the ball in these areas, get dangerous turnovers, get chances, but they didn't score them. But there were also times when they couldn't press like that, and Luke Shaw couldn't press like that, and it was because of Mason Mount. Because Mason Mount would kind of pull out on this wide right, and technically Shaw could still press in this situation, and Lisandro Martinez could come across and cover, but it just looked like United weren't quite sure what they were meant to be doing in this situation. And particularly for the first 10 minutes, Shaw was caught deep back here on Mount, and it gave Chelsea an easy way out of the press. Far too easy, actually. Eventually, they kind of sorted it out. Lisandro pushed a little bit wider, Varane came across, and then Shaw pushed up, and then that allowed United to really dominate. That's when United really took control of the game. That first 35 minutes, they were brilliant. But then Chelsea made a change. Graham Potter changed the system on the 35th minute, and that changed the game completely. So we got to the 35th minute and Potter decided enough was enough. Now that's probably credit to Manchester United, and the way that they were dominating probably shows how much control United had at this point in the game. For Graham Potter to bring Kovacic on for Cucurella on the 35th minute, it's quite a bold change to make, but Potter knew that he had to change something. United were far too on top, creating chances by exposing and outnumbering Chelsea in the midfield, but also then pressing high, winning the ball back. Potter knew he had to change that. And what he done was he went to a 4-4-2 diamond shape, with Kovacic in midfield and Chelsea going to a typical back four. And what it's done was, kind of for the neutral, made for a bit of a boring game, because it allowed Chelsea and United to kind of perfectly nullify each other. But let's talk about how it addressed some of Chelsea's problems. So first of all, let's talk about United playing out from the back. United still look to play out from the back, which we do like to see, but now rather than pressing one centre-back in Lisandro Martinez, they were now able to press both centre-backs with Sterling and Aubameyang. From there in the midfield, whereas now they were 3-2 down Chelsea, they now have 4 central midfielders, which meant that they could easily outnumber the Manchester United midfielders. So we can see Chelsea have now addressed those issues. And yes, it did leave room out wide for the fullbacks. I just don't think United took advantage of that. The gap was there. You could argue that this is a weakness in this Chelsea system. The ball could have gone out to Dalot, United could have played from there, but I just don't think United took advantage of it. And when they did try to do it, I thought that Loftus-Cheek and the midfielder on the other side done a very good job of timing when they should go out and press the fullback and when they should sit back in midfield here. And as a result, it really nullified Manchester United's threat on the ball. Now, Ten Hag reacted and bought Jadon Sancho off, who just simply wasn't good enough. Fred came on, Bruno Fernandes went out wide, Eriksen moved further forward, and Fred into the double pivot alongside Casemiro. What this did do was kind of allow United to not retake control, but even up in the middle of the pitch, because we know that if Bruno Fernandes is playing left wing, he's going to be coming inside. And this drags Azpilicueta in and then frees up a bit more room for Luke Shaw down the left. But I just thought, second half, for one reason or another, United just didn't have enough quality. Nothing majorly tactical. Graham Potter done an excellent job, yes, of crowding the middle of that pitch. United just seemed to lose their way a little bit. They lost all that momentum that they had in the first half, and I just don't think Ten Hag reacted in the right way, and also he didn't react quick enough. There were still flaws in this Chelsea system that could have been exposed. Ten Hag didn't really do that, so that's perhaps my one concern and my one criticism of Ten Hag for this game. I thought first half he set United up brilliantly, the starting shape was perfect, created good opportunities, and completely controlled the game. But I thought when Graham Potter reacted and changes things, went to this diamond, I don't think Ten Hag dealt with it particularly well. So that is something that he will need to work on moving forward, that ability to adapt to managers' different tactics in game. So that is something to work on. In terms of Chelsea on the ball, they didn't look great either, and United just defended well. Now, there should have been more problems for United. Chelsea should have been better, because we can see that Chelsea now have the 4 versus 3 in the midfield. So they should have been able to really take control of this game. Now, yes, they did now have more possession, but they just didn't do it well enough. They got into decent positions, but again, the quality weren't there, and that was a big thing in the second half. Both managers kind of cancelled each other out a little bit. In terms of what Chelsea were trying to do, Mount was still pulling onto Casemiro. We can see Fred and Kovacic near each other. Eriksen was dropping in sometimes this side on the other midfielder. It gave Chelsea the extra free man, but eventually Rashford kind of realised this, or Ten Hag realised this, dropped him in onto Jorginho, and again we now just have our 4 versus 4 midfield. And it was a tactical game of chess, if you like. This was two managers just countering and cancelling each other out, and a little bit disappointed in the end, because I do think one of them could have made the change to really go for it. It seemed like both managers were adapting tactics to kind of make sure the other team didn't score. You know, we know these are both brilliant managers, brilliant tactical minds. It would have been nice to see one of them make a more attacking change to really go for the game. It felt like the changes from both teams, bringing on Fred and also moving to the 4-4-2 diamond from Chelsea's point of view, it felt like both teams sort of just cancelled each other out a little bit. Cancelled each other out a little bit. And it made for a disappointing second half. I don't think the quality was there. The first half was brilliant. Second half, in terms of from a neutral's point of view, it weren't a great game of football. It was decent. There were some flashpoints. The penalty, I thought it was a penalty. I think it's a foul in the box. I don't think you can do that if you're McTominay. The one thing I would say is, I think it happens every game in the box at set pieces. Now, like I said, it's a foul. It is a penalty, but hopefully that means we get to see them given more, because it is a foul in the box, but it happens at least twice every game. So refs need to be consistent. In terms of United's goal, it's just a great header from Casemiro. The draw was probably the fair result. I don't think either team quite had enough quality on the ball in attacking areas to deserve more than that. United were set up brilliantly initially. They played through the press well. They dominated the ball well. They got into the final third well. They created good opportunities, but just lacked that final cutting edge once again. Chelsea really struggled for 35 minutes, but Graham Potter made good changes, got them back in the game, and like I said, really evened it out. So I think the draw is fair, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think the draw was the right result? Do you think the subs from Ten Hag and Potter were the right subs to make? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.